Nathan had been in Toronto for less than an hour when the first sorry happened. He was standing in line at a small coffee shop near Queen Street, still adjusting the strap of his backpack and staring at the menu board like it was written in code. Okay, flat white, cortado, macchiato. Wait, he muttered quietly, leaning forward. Behind him, someone shifted slightly. Nathan stepped half a foot to the side. The woman behind him smiled politely. Sorry. Nathan blinked. Oh, no, you're good, he said quickly. She nodded and looked back at her phone. Nathan turned forward again. Huh, he whispered. Nothing had happened. Nobody bumped into anyone. Nobody cut the line. Still, sorry. A minute later, the guy in front of him moved his backpack off the counter while grabbing his wallet. Sorry about that, the man said casually. Nathan looked around. About what? He said quietly under his breath. When it was finally his turn, the barista smiled. Barista. Hi there. What can I get for you? Nathan. Yeah, just a medium coffee. The barista poured it quickly. As she handed it over, their fingers almost brushed. Barista. Sorry. Nathan laughed a little. Wait, sorry for what? She tilted her head. Oh, sorry, habit. Nathan chuckled and grabbed the cup. All right. That's number 3, he murmured. He stepped outside into the cool Toronto air, taking his first sip. Okay, he said to himself. Maybe that's just a coffee shop thing. He started walking down the sidewalk, still scanning buildings and streetcars passing slowly down the middle of the road. A man walking the opposite direction shifted slightly to avoid Nathan's shoulder. Sorry, the man said as they passed. Nathan stopped walking. Wait, seriously? He turned around slightly, watching the guy continue down the sidewalk like nothing happened. Nathan laughed. Haha, okay, that's 4. He kept walking. A couple minutes later, he stepped into a small convenience store to grab a bottle of water. Inside, a woman was standing near the refrigerator door. Nathan reached for the handle. She quickly moved half a step to the side. Sorry. Nathan froze again. You're apologizing to me? She smiled politely. Oh, I was just in the way. Nathan pointed at the fridge. You weren't in the way. She shrugged lightly. Sorry. Nathan let out a quiet laugh. Okay, now you're apologizing for apologizing. She laughed too. Yeah, we do that. Nathan grabbed his water and walked to the register, shaking his head with a grin. Outside again, he sat on a bench and took another sip of coffee. He said slowly. He started counting on his fingers. Coffee shop lady, barista, guy in line, sidewalk guy, fridge lady. He leaned back against the bench. 5 apologies. And I've been here, what, 40 minutes? A cyclist rode past. A pedestrian stepped slightly aside. Cyclist. Sorry. Pedestrian. Sorry. Nathan's eyebrows shot up. Whoa. He burst out laughing. Did they just apologize to each other for not hitting each other? He watched them continue down the street like that exchange was completely normal. Nathan shook his head in disbelief. Okay, he said quietly. Something is definitely going on here. Later that afternoon, Nathan decided he needed a few things for his hotel room. Nothing major, just snacks, maybe fruit, and something he could microwave later. He spotted a grocery store a few blocks away and pushed the door open. All right, he said quietly, grabbing a small basket. Normal place. Normal people. The store smelled faintly like fresh bread. He walked slowly through the aisles, scanning shelves. Chips, cookies. Okay, this looks familiar. Nathan turned into another aisle and stopped near a shelf full of cereal. He leaned forward to read one of the boxes. Behind him, someone's cart rolled closer. A woman reached past him to grab a box from the top shelf. Sorry, she said quickly. Nathan stepped back a little. Oh, no problem. But then he noticed something. He had been the one standing in the middle of the aisle. She had gone around him politely. Nathan frowned slightly. Wait, he muttered under his breath. Shouldn't I be the one saying sorry? The woman placed the cereal in her cart and smiled politely before moving on. Nathan watched her leave. Okay. That's weird. He grabbed a box of granola and continued down the aisle. A few minutes later, he stopped in front of the refrigerated section, studying different yogurt brands. As he reached toward the shelf, another shopper gently tapped their cart brakes behind him. Sorry about that, the man said. Nathan turned around. Oh, no worries. But again, nothing had happened. No collision, no interruption. Nathan stepped slightly aside. You're good, he added. The man nodded politely and grabbed a yogurt. Thanks, sorry. Nathan blinked. Huh. He stood there for a second, watching the man walk away. Okay, he whispered. This is becoming a pattern. He moved to another aisle and crouched slightly to grab a bag of chips from a lower shelf. A teenager walked past pushing a cart. The cartwheel squeaked lightly as it rolled by. The teenager slowed for half a second. Sorry, he said automatically, dead. Nathan looked up from the chips. You didn't even hit me. The kid shrugged. Sorry. Nathan burst out laughing. Why are you apologizing again? The teenager grinned awkwardly. Just being polite, I guess. Nathan stood up, still smiling. Man, you guys apologize for everything. The teenager shrugged again and pushed his cart away. Nathan tossed the chips into his basket. He continued toward the produce section, still shaking his head. Okay, he murmured. This is definitely not random. At the fruit display, he picked up a few apples. As he stepped back, his elbow lightly brushed someone's shopping basket. The woman holding it immediately spoke. Oh, sorry, Nathan pointed at himself. Wait, no, that was me. She smiled politely. Oh, sorry. Nathan laughed. No, seriously, that one was actually my fault. She waved her hand gently. It's okay. Then she paused. Sorry about the apples. Nathan stared at her for a moment. The apples? She nodded. They rolled a little. Nathan looked down. One apple had moved maybe half an inch. He started laughing again. Ha ha ha. Okay. The woman laughed too before walking away with her basket. Nathan stood there for a moment holding an apple. He whispered to himself. People in this country apologize like it's punctuation. He walked toward the checkout line, basket in hand. A cashier waved him over. Cashier. Hi. Sorry for the wait. Nathan looked behind him. There had been no line. No wait, he said slowly. The cashier smiled. Oh, sorry. Nathan put his basket on the counter and chuckled quietly. All right, he said. Now I'm really curious. The next morning, Lucas decided to explore a neighborhood cafe a few blocks from his hotel. He pushed open the glass door and stepped inside, immediately noticing the warm smell of toasted bagels and coffee. Nice, he murmured. A small line had formed near the counter, so Lucas joined the queue and glanced around at the chalkboard menu. Maple latte? He whispered. Okay, Canada, I see what you're doing. Someone behind him shifted slightly. Lucas stepped forward a tiny bit. The woman behind him spoke instantly. Sorry, Lucas turned. Oh, no, that's fine. She smiled politely. Then Lucas stepped half a step back so she'd have more room. Sorry, he said automatically. They both froze. The woman laughed. Ha ha, wait. Lucas laughed too. Yeah, I think I just did the Canadian thing. They both chuckled quietly while the line moved forward. A few minutes later, Lucas ordered his coffee and picked up a warm bagel. He looked around the cafe and spotted an empty seat near the window. As he walked toward it, another customer approached from the opposite direction at almost the exact same moment. They both stopped. Lucas lifted a hand. Oh, sorry. The man immediately said the same thing. Sorry. They both stepped to the side. Then they both stepped the same direction. Sorry, Lucas laughed. No, you go. The man shook his head politely. No, sorry, you go. Lucas stepped back again. All right, sorry. The man laughed. Ha ha. Wow. Lucas finally moved past him and reached the table. As he sat down, he shook his head. That was like an apology standoff. He took a sip of his coffee and watched the cafe quietly for a moment. At the next table, 2 people were standing up at the same time. One chair scraped lightly against the floor. Sorry. Sorry. Lucas stared for a second. Again? A few minutes later, he got up to throw away his napkin. As he turned the corner near the trash bin, a barista walked out from the kitchen area. They nearly bumped shoulders. Both of them reacted instantly. Lucas. Sorry. Barista. Sorry. They stopped. The barista laughed first. Haha. Wow. Synchronized. Lucas grinned. Yeah. I've only been here like a day, and I'm already doing it. The barista tilted his head. Doing what? Lucas pointed between them. The sorry thing. The barista chuckled. Oh yeah, we do say that a lot. Lucas leaned slightly against the counter. Back home, if 2 people almost bump into each other, usually only one person apologizes. The barista raised an eyebrow. Really? Yeah, Lucas said. And sometimes neither person does. The barista laughed. That sounds stressful. Lucas laughed too. Wait. Stressful? Yeah, the barista said casually. Then someone might think the other person was being rude. Lucas paused. Huh. He grabbed his empty cup. Well, here it feels like both people assume it was their fault. The barista shrugged slightly. Or maybe nobody's fault. Lucas nodded slowly. Interesting. He walked back toward the door. As he pushed it open, another customer entering the cafe held the door at the same time. Both of them spoke immediately. Sorry. They paused. Lucas burst out laughing. Okay, this is contagious. The other guy laughed too. Yeah, happens to everyone eventually. Lucas stepped outside onto the sidewalk, still smiling. 24 hours in Canada, he muttered. And I'm apologizing to strangers for existing. Later that afternoon, Lucas met his coworker Megan at a small cafe near her office. She had lived in Toronto her entire life, and Lucas had already decided she was the perfect person to ask about what he had started calling the apology mystery. Megan arrived carrying 2 coffees. Sorry, I'm a minute late, she said as she set one down. Lucas immediately laughed. There it is again. Where she looked confused. What? That, Lucas said, pointing at her. You just apologized for being 1 minute late. Megan blinked. Oh, yeah. Lucas leaned back in his chair. Okay, Megan, I need you to explain something. She raised an eyebrow. That sounds serious. Lucas counted on his fingers. Coffee shop apologies, grocery store apologies, sidewalk apologies, 2 people apologizing to each other at the same time. What is going on? Megan laughed. Oh, wow, you noticed already. Noticed? Lucas said. It's everywhere. She took a sip of her coffee. All right, I'll explain. Lucas leaned forward. Yes, please. Megan rested her elbow on the table. So here's the thing. When Canadians say sorry, it doesn't always mean I did something wrong. Lucas tilted his head. Then what does it mean? She shrugged. It often just means I see you. Lucas frowned. Wait, what? Megan laughed. Okay, think about the grocery store. Lucas nodded. Yeah, the cereal aisle apology lady. Exactly, Megan said. She wasn't apologizing because she did something wrong. She was acknowledging that you both existed in the same space. Lucas blinked. That's a very polite way to say excuse me. Exactly, Megan said, pointing at him. It's basically a soft excuse me or I didn't mean to interrupt your space. Lucas leaned back slowly. Huh. Megan continued. It's kind of like a social buffer. Instead of risking someone feeling annoyed, we just say sorry quickly. Lucas laughed. So it's like preventative politeness. Yeah, Megan said. That's actually a good way to describe it. Lucas took a sip of his coffee. Okay, but what about when 2 people apologize at the same time? Megan smiled. That happens constantly. Lucas shook his head. I had a full apology duel at a cafe this morning. Megan laughed. Oh yeah, the sorry dance. The what? She demonstrated with her hands. You know when two people step left and right trying not to block each other? Lucas pointed at her excitedly. Yes, that exact thing. Yeah, Megan said. Both people apologize because both people are trying to be considerate. Lucas leaned forward again. So nobody's actually admitting fault. Right, Megan said. Lucas paused. That's actually kind of nice. Megan shrugged. It keeps things friendly. Lucas thought for a moment. But Americans usually only say sorry when something is actually wrong. Megan nodded. Yeah, I've noticed that. Lucas raised an eyebrow. So Canadians apologize more? She thought for a second. Not exactly. It's more like we use the word differently. Lucas looked intrigued. Different how? Megan counted on her fingers. Sorry can mean excuse me. Sorry can mean I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry can mean I'm acknowledging you. Lucas laughed. That's a lot of meanings for one word. Yeah, Megan admitted. Lucas shook his head with a smile. You know what's funny? What? I've already started doing it. Megan grinned. See? It spreads fast. Lucas pointed toward the street outside the window. This morning I apologized to a guy for opening a door. Megan laughed loudly. Welcome to Canada. Lucas leaned back in his chair again, thinking about it. So basically, he said slowly, the word sorry here isn't always about guilt. Megan nodded. It's more about awareness. Lucas nodded slowly. He looked out the window at people walking past each other on the sidewalk. Two pedestrians nearly crossed paths. Both of them said it. Sorry, Lucas smiled. Okay. I think I finally understand. 3 days later, Tyler was walking through a small neighborhood market in Toronto, carrying a paper bag with a sandwich and a bottle of iced tea. He had already gotten used to the quiet rhythm of the city. Streetcars humming past, people lining up calmly at crosswalks, and of course the constant soundtrack of sorry floating through everyday conversations. But he hadn't realized something important had changed. Not yet. He stepped into a small bakery to grab a cookie before heading back to his hotel. The place was cozy, with a glass display full of pastries. Tyler leaned slightly over the counter, trying to decide. Okay. That one looks dangerous, he muttered, pointing at a chocolate chip cookie the size of a pancake. Behind him, the door opened. A woman walked in and stood just a little too close while looking at the menu board. Tyler shifted half a step to the side, and without thinking, he said it. Sorry. The word slipped out so naturally that he didn't even notice at first. The woman smiled politely. No problem. Tyler finished ordering and stepped aside while the cashier bagged the cookie. Then something clicked. He froze. Wait. He looked down at the bag in his hands. Then he replayed the moment in his head. Did I just... He turned toward the woman. Wait. I just apologized, didn't I? She looked slightly confused. Yeah? Tyler blinked. Huh. He laughed quietly. Wow. The cashier handed him the cookie. Cashier. Sorry about the wait. Tyler grinned immediately. Oh, it's fine. Sorry, I mean... He stopped mid-sentence. The cashier laughed. Tyler pointed at himself. See, I'm doing it now. The woman behind him chuckled. Yeah, that happens. Tyler shook his head in disbelief. I've been here like 4 days. The cashier shrugged playfully. It spreads fast. Tyler stepped outside onto the sidewalk, still smiling. Wow. Okay. He took a bite of the cookie and started walking. A few seconds later, he reached a narrow section of sidewalk where a couple was approaching from the opposite direction. Tyler shifted slightly toward the curb to give them room. Sorry, he said casually. They both nodded. No worries. Tyler kept walking for 3 more steps. Then suddenly he stopped again. Whoa. He turned around and looked back at them. I did it again. The couple looked confused for a moment before laughing. Tyler laughed too. Ha ha, wow. He continued walking down the street, still shaking his head. Okay, this is officially happening. He reached a crosswalk where a group of people were waiting. When the light changed, everyone stepped forward at the same time. Tyler accidentally brushed shoulders with a guy next to him. Both of them reacted instantly. Sorry. Tyler paused mid-step. Then he started laughing again. Seriously? The guy laughed too. First time in Canada? Tyler nodded. Yeah. Is it that obvious? The guy grinned. You just had the realization moment. The what? The moment when you realize you've started saying sorry like us. Tyler pointed at him. Yes, that exactly. They reached the other side of the street. The man waved goodbye. Don't worry, it's permanent now. Tyler laughed. Oh no. He kept walking toward his hotel, smiling the entire way. A cyclist passed behind him and rang a bell softly. Tyler stepped slightly aside. Sorry, the cyclist called back. All good. Tyler shook his head with a grin. Wow. 4 days in Canada, and now I'm apologizing to bicycles. 2 days later, Andrew was sitting on a bench in a quiet park near downtown Toronto, finishing the last of his coffee and watching people walk along the path in front of him. By now, the word sorry barely surprised him anymore. It had become part of the background noise of the city. 2 joggers slowed slightly as they crossed paths. Jogger 1. Sorry. Jogger 2. Sorry. Andrew smiled. Yeah, there it is again. A woman walking her dog stepped aside as a cyclist passed. Cyclist. Sorry. Woman. No problem. Andrew leaned back against the bench. At first, the whole thing had seemed strange, almost unnecessary. Back home in the US, apologies usually meant someone had actually messed up. But here, the word seemed to carry a completely different energy. It wasn't about blame. It was about awareness. A teenager accidentally dropped a glove while passing someone on the path. Sorry, he said automatically while picking it up. The other person shook their head. All good. Andrew chuckled quietly. He remembered something Megan had said a few days earlier. It's not always an apology. Sometimes it just means I see you. Andrew watched a group of people carefully navigate around each other near a food truck. Sorry. 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 Nobody looked annoyed. Nobody looked embarrassed. If anything, everyone looked relaxed. The words seemed to smooth over tiny social moments before they could turn awkward. Andrew muttered to himself, It's like a social cushion. At that exact moment, a man walking past Andrew accidentally nudged the edge of the bench. Sorry about that, the man said. Andrew immediately responded without thinking. Sorry. They both paused, then both laughed. Andrew shook his head. See, now I'm doing it too. The man grinned. Happens to everyone. He continued walking down the path. Andrew watched him go and smiled. Maybe that was the real lesson. Sometimes the smallest cultural habits reveal the biggest differences. Not in language, not in rules, but in how people share everyday space with strangers. Andrew finished his coffee and stood up from the bench. As he stepped onto the path, he nearly crossed in front of someone walking the other direction. They both spoke instantly. Sorry. Andrew laughed as they passed each other. Okay, he said quietly. I guess I'm officially Canadian now.